Can you make $500 or pounds a month off 5,000? What I mean by that is you've got 5k that you want to find possible ways and get an ROI of 10%. That's what it is. 10% a month. Is it possible? Yes. And you may be thinking, well, what ridiculous scheme is it? It's not illegal. It's not a scam. Anything like that. You can do this. Now, obviously, there are risks involved when you're looking to get some kind of monthly income. Of course. Even the safest thing in crypto, which is buying Bitcoin and put it in a non-custodial wallet. Some will say that's maybe risky because, you know, some could get your keys, quantum computers will come in, blah, 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 blah. There's always a risk in crypto with anything. And obviously there's a risk that BTC, something may happen, Satoshi comes out, reveals himself, Bitcoin crashes, knock-on effect on the crypto market. That is always something you've got to bear in mind. So I always say, you know, if you're looking at generating some monthly yield, and 5k, for example, is your life savings, probably not a good idea to consider it, to be honest. But if that 5k is something that you have, that you're not going to touch for a long time, and you want to use to make more money, then you can. And how do I know this works? Because I'm doing it. I've mentioned before, I've testing at the moment 2k that I'm testing, and with that 2k I've got it in a liquidity pool, 2 liquidity pools. One is a Solana USDC pool, the other is a Pump USDC pool. I've set my ranges and they pretty much stayed within them for the past 2-3 weeks, and on average it's earning around 20%. So that's not 10%, which I just mentioned then. This is 20%. So off 2k, it's batting between $350 to $500 a month, which is on average 20%. Now, how does that work? What does that mean? So what that means is you get your assets, deposit them into a liquidity pool, set your ranges, i.e. the price that it's going to stay between, and when it's in between that price, it then generates fees. And that's the yield that you get. And the higher percentage you get, the slimmer the ranges, the more the risk of it going outside those ranges. The higher the ranges, the lower the percentage. So you could even split the risk that I'm doing, making it less risky to earn that 10% monthly yield, which would work out, you know, 2.5, 3% a week. And mine is probably around 6 or 7% a week-ish, you would think, off the top of my head. So what you've got to think is, right, now it's probably 5% actually, I'm thinking of that. So what you've got to think is, with these liquidity pools that I keep talking about, and with these ranges, and with the coins themselves, what are the risks? Because that's what people always say on the videos. Well, what is the risk in doing it? You make it sound easy. What is the risk? So first of all, impermanent loss is what everyone talks about. And that is basically when it goes out of range. But it's not the case that it goes out of range and you lose what you've deposited in the liquidity pool. It's what you end up with afterwards. So obviously, if you were to do these liquidity pools with a shit coin, let's just get it out there, right? A ridiculous meme coin, and let's just say even more, because a lot of people usually use liquidity pools when they pair a unstable asset with a stable asset, like a stable coin. But let's say you didn't want to do that. You're going extreme degen, and it was too ridiculous assets, 2 meme coins, and, you know, 1 rugged or 1 did whatever. That's when you get the ridiculous impermanent loss, because you're left with either 1 coin on the upside or 1 coin on the downside, right? Now, what that means is if a coin just tanks completely into oblivion, you're left with that coin. Whereas you may have deposited, let's just say you paired some ridiculous altcoin with USDC. You could have wasted your USDC, pairing it with a ridiculous altcoin, and it goes all the way down to oblivion. Because you end up with, when it goes out of the ranges, you end up 100% in that altcoin, and it's just going nowhere. So the idea is, if you are doing the liquidity pools, you stick into high market cap coins, because if you stick into high market cap coins, then if you're left with that coin, you're not bothered. In an ideal scenario, you are a person that has the asset that you want to use in the liquidity pools. So what I mean by that is, in an ideal world, you may have one of these blue chip alts that's been in the top 10, top 20, and you were just going to hold it anyway. So let's just say Avalanche, you know, what are they in the top? What's in the top 20 at the moment that you can use in liquidity pools? Avalanche, Solana, Sui, right? These coins that are up there, you can all use in liquidity pools. So let's just say you were just going to hold them anyway. If you get into a liquidity pool and you look at earning yield on those coins, and you set up a range, like I mentioned before, earning a 10%. So, you know, you could test it and scale it up or down, you know, 5k to 500, or just do what I was doing, which is double, 5k to $1,000 a month, 10k to 2k a month, 20k to 4k a month. You see how it goes. Obviously, there's larger risk with how much you can afford to lose and how much you are a gambler. In essence, how much risk appetite you have. But if you were kind of just, say you were just holding on to that asset anyway, then the risk for you is probably smaller, because you think, well, if I go out of range and it leaves me with my asset that I had anyway, then there you go. Now, obviously, another caveat to that is you could get caught off guard by sudden price movements. So you could put your, let's just say you have Avalanche, you put it into a liquidity pool, and Avalanche goes massively down and massively up, and you're holding on to that Avalanche. You may, if you just entered the liquidity pool, and that happens within the first week, you may have less Avalanche than you started with, because just the sudden price movement has knocked it off. But if you have been able to set your ranges well, kind of read the market and see where it's going, is it going sideways, rather than dramatically up or dramatically down, then you would accumulate more of it, even if it does have some downside or upside action. And as well as the Avalanche you pull back out, you've gained whatever you've yield by putting it into that liquidity pool in the first place. So it's one of them where I've said in previous videos, rather than just sitting on an asset, waiting basically for something to happen in the next 4 years, let's say we are in a bear market, accumulate more of it. Or, you know, you're accumulating as well as that. If you think about it, if you're going into a joint liquidity pool, that is half USDC, half Avalanche, half of the yield that you get will be in a stable coin. So you get in that stable coins exposure as well. And if you're thinking, Matt, what the hell are you on about? I have got a free PDF on DeFi liquidity pools that I've been putting out there. A lot of people are downloading it now. I've had like 65 people download it over the weekend. And also, if you want to book a call with one of the team to see how we run the group. So we've got a group where we have weekly calls. There's a DeFi specialist in there that has a weekly call. You can ask any questions about new liquidity pools. He's put a massive section together in how to cover everything in DeFi. We've got a trading call that's every week, in case you want to get into that, and a generic crypto call. Full community in there as well, with regular meetups. You know, we are offering at the moment lifetime access. So if you are interested in that, you want to find out more, we can help. Click the link in the description and we can go through that with you. That's it for me today. If you do enjoy my content, Please like, subscribe. See you all very soon.